always wanted to grow radishes, but you're not really sure where to get started?
In this video, we're going to help you build your radish knowledge and show you how to grow radishes in your garden step by step today. If you're interested in growing radish microgreens, we're going to cover that a little bit later in this video.
Hi, we're Sean and Allison from Spoken Garden, and we're partnering with Eden Brothers to help you in your garden.
We want to help you become a better gardener and grow your best vegetable and flower crop yet. So let's start talking about radishes. Now, before we show you how to sow these radish seeds, there's a couple things we'd like you to know. First, radishes are considered a root vegetable crop, and they're hardy in zones 3 through 10. Now, radishes are also considered a cool season crop, meaning you can grow them anytime during the spring or the fall months, those cool times of year. Now, you might also know radishes by their botanical name, Raphanus sativus. Now, we're going to show you how to sow radish seeds of cherry belle today, which is an AAS winner. It's an open pollinated seed, and it's an heirloom variety. Now, cherry belle does really well in culinary gardens or container garden growing, and it's great in salads or other types of dishes, and it's really fun to grow for microgreens. Now, if you're growing radishes for microgreens, you can expect to harvest those microgreens anywhere from 10 to 14 days after germination. If you're growing radishes just for the root crop itself, you can expect harvest in about 3 weeks or just under 30 days after germination.
All right, now some fun facts about cherry belle radishes. They are really easy to grow and maintain, and they have a clumping form. Cherry belle radishes have a mild peppery taste and a crisp and crunchy texture. They prefer full sun growing conditions, but they can tolerate some shade. In general, they have average water needs, and they really prefer well-draining, nutrient-rich soil. So make sure the soil drains really well so you don't run into any rot issues or stunted root growth. Now let's talk about when to plant your cherry belle radishes. In general, you can direct sow your radishes as soon as your soil is workable, and you want to make sure it's about 4 to 6 weeks after your last hard frost has passed. If you live in a cooler zone or climate, you can plant your radishes in either the spring or the fall. And if you live in a warmer zone or climate, you can actually plant your radishes throughout the winter so you can have multiple crops.
Let's talk about getting ready to sow radish seeds. The first thing you want to know is radishes are definitely a root crop, so they're going to be transplant sensitive. So best practice is to directly sow them out into your garden, whether that's a ground bed, a raised bed, or even a container. You'll want to prep your soil, and that means if you're using older soil, just add some compost in there, mix it in, smooth it all out, you'll be fine. You want to plant in well-draining, nutrient-rich soil and a soil that has a pH between 5.5 and 6.8. Make sure to pre-moisten your soil so it's nice and wet before you plant your seeds. For radishes, you'll want to plant them about a ½ inch deep and 2 to 3 inches apart from each other. Now, make sure to pick your favorite seed sowing tool and just make a trench about a ½ inch deep. And then what you'll do is you'll get your seeds and you'll just drop your seeds about every 2 to 3 inches. And if you drop 2 seeds in there in one spot, that's okay. You can thin them out as they come up. And then make sure to just cover your seed up, pat it down, and we'll water these in. Make sure to use a gentle spray when you're watering your seeds in so it doesn't displace them and push them out of their planting hole or row like we have here. Now, to make sure you get the best possible germination, keep the soil consistently moist. Don't let it dry out too much. The more you let it dry out and the more inconsistent you are with the watering, the longer it's going to take for your seeds to germinate. Now, if you keep the soil consistently moist, you should have germination anywhere from 5 to 10 days. And to improve the germination, if you have temperatures anywhere from 55 to 75 degrees, your germination will happen a lot faster. Now, if you want a continual crop of radishes, you can sow seeds every 2 to 3 weeks during the cooler times of year. Make sure also to rotate where you grow radishes in your garden every 3 years because you want to keep the health of the soil really high and you want to prevent diseases and insects. Now, in the weeks to come, because this is such a fast crop within about 3 weeks to under 30 days to have a harvest, you want to make sure to keep them consistently moist. Keep the plants and their roots consistently moist. Now, if you underwater your radishes, it can lead to underdeveloped roots, which is the actual crop that you want to grow, and it can have less flavor. Now, if you overwater them, it can lead to root rot because they're inconsistently mucky soil and they are susceptible to rot. Now, if your soil is low in nutrients, you can fertilize it with a well-balanced fertilizer, but make sure it's not too high in nitrogen because you don't want your radishes to produce more leaves than the root system system itself. Now, to keep your radishes consistently watered, it's a good idea to use a drip irrigation system, and this works really well because it keeps the water close to the soil where it needs to go and not on the plant's leaves. You don't want to water over the top of your plants in general, but especially radishes because they are susceptible to a couple of different kinds of fungus and rots, and you don't want to encourage any of those diseases or insects. Make sure to keep up the weeding around your plants. You can also use some mulch to help keep the weeds down, but also keep the moisture in the soil, and that could cut down on how much time you need to spend watering. And also make sure to remove dead or diseased leaves. You want to keep the growing area nice and tidy because radishes are susceptible to different bacterial and fungal rots and diseases, and they're also susceptible to different insects, including aphids, cabbage loopers, and cutworms, and many others.
You can expect to harvest your radish roots in 3 weeks or under 30 days after germination. Once a radish root grows to 1 to 2 inches in diameter, they are ready to be harvested. The larger the root size, the tougher and more fibrous it will become. Once the desired root size is reached, they can be dug up and the soil cleaned off. Cut away any leaves and stems, leaving 1 to 2 inches of stem at the top of the radish root that can be cut away right before preparation and adding to dishes. Harvest in the early morning after watering when the plants are least stressed.
Now, if you want to grow radishes as microgreens, here's what you need to know. First, you can grow radishes as microgreens any time of year. It doesn't matter. You can just grow them indoors, whether it's under a well-lit windowsill, in a greenhouse, or under grow lights. Supplies you're going to need are either a microgreen tray like we have here, or just some other type of shallow container that you can grow these in. You'll fill that container up with soil, and you'll leave about a ½ inch or even more than a ½ inch for the planting process because these seeds need to be planted at ½ inch. Now, if you don't have seed starting soil, you can also use potting soil, just regular potting soil, or even a general garden mix kind of soil, anything that really drains really well. We've got our soil in our container. What you'll want to do now is just take your seeds and, as best possible, evenly spread them out over the soil. Now all you need to do is just put soil right on top of it so it comes up to that ½ inch mark. Now I just need to fill the rest of this container up to this lip of this container, and then we'll be ready to go. Make sure to tamp down as you're adding the soil in. Make sure to tamp down that soil so it's nice and firm, so it's nice and snug up against those seeds. Now, last thing we need to do is just make sure we water these in nice and gently because we don't want to dislodge any of that soil we just put in here. And this could take a couple times of watering it to make sure it's down in that soil profile. There was some moisture already in this seed starting soil, so this soil should dissipate and get through that soil profile pretty fast. Now, you just need to make sure and wait for these to germinate within about 5 to 10 days. The more consistent you are with your watering, the faster they're going to germinate. And again, like we described before in planting the seeds outdoors, you don't want to go too long between waterings because the more inconsistent you are with the watering, the longer it's going to take for these seeds to germinate. Now, these seeds will germinate really well in temperatures between 55 and 75 degrees, so make sure to keep them in a warm, well-lit area. Now, to help with germination, you can also use what we call a humidity dome. And what this will do is this will just trap a lot of that moisture inside this area, and it'll help keep it more consistently moist, and you should have faster germination.
Your radish microgreens are ready to harvest when the seedlings have developed their first set of true leaves. Harvest around 10 to 14 days after germination. You can harvest them by cutting each seedling stem with clean scissors just above the soil surface. Rinse your seedlings in cool, cold water and allow them to dry before placing them in salads or other dishes. You can store them in a refrigerator in a container with a damp paper towel.
Now, if you need more vegetable or flower growing or planting tips, you can always go to EdenBrothers.com and check out their planting guides.
And we hope this video was really helpful for you in getting your radish seeds sown or sowing microgreens. And from us at Spoken Garden and Eden Brothers, thank you for watching.